Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros nuevamente. Vamos a continuar ahora con la segunda parte. Tuvimos la oportunidad de conocer muchísimas cosas con Imán. Vimos el tema de UNESCO, cómo Palestina ha logrado presentar en UNESCO y que se conviertan en patrimonio de la humanidad muchísimas cosas, entre ellas el bordado palestino, ciudades palestinas y ahora prontamente quizás Jericó, y gracias a Imán que está haciendo el trabajo de arqueología y de estudio antropológico sobre la zona. Muchísimas gracias, Imán. Vamos a continuar entonces con la presentación y vamos a ver cómo nos iba con las puntadas. Habíamos hablado de Jerusalén y de lo característico del bordado de Belén. Y el bordado de Belén era usar hilos hilados que estaban con oro, con plata, y eso se ponía encima de la tela y se bordaba cuidadosamente para que éste quedara como en relieve, como si fuesen en 3 dimensiones, en 3D. Ese es un estilo de bordado que era muy famoso y según lo que nos contó Iman, era muy solicitado desde la gente de Jerusalén, que se supone que era la gente más rica, la gente de la ciudad, que se lo pedían a las personas de Belén para poder ellas lucir sus trajes, sobre todo por lo que era el brillo y el uso de la plata y el oro en sus vestuarios. Bienvenida, Iman. Seguimos.
Gracias.
Ujú.
Gracias. I wanted to continue the conversation. We've talked a little bit, like you said, about Bethlehem, and I'm going to show you the dress of Bethlehem. But I want to highlight in this next discussion that me and you are having, I really would like to highlight the meanings and the stories behind Palestinian embroidery. And this is what makes Palestinian embroidery so unique. It's the stories of the motifs and the colors and the designs and the symbols that we find on these dresses. So I really wanted to highlight that. And I wanted to first start by, you see this beautiful piece here, and it has a lot of red in it. I do want you to know that the region is very well known. Phoenicians and Canaanites, which are the same people, they produce the beautiful color red purple. And what you see here is kind of all these different shades of red. And these shades of red were used throughout Palestine. But I do want you to know that some areas favored a certain color versus another. For example, the people of Hebron really liked and favored red-brown color, that mixture of reddish brown. The opposite of people of Ramallah, who really, really liked this burgundy wine kind of red. So every region, Gaza favored this purplish red. So even the colors were favored by certain regions. So the colors themselves have so much meaning to them. Let me share with you this nice story. So this is a beautiful lady wearing a dress from the southern part of Palestine, the Naqab area, the Naqab desert area. If you notice on the bottom of her dress, the embroidery is in blue. Is that right? So the reason it's in blue, because this woman is not married yet. When she gets married, so if she's walking down in the market and people see her, they know she's a young lady that's not married. When she gets married, these colors the dress becomes colorful with a lot of red and a lot of oranges and a lot of beautiful colors. So just by walking down the street, sometimes they can tell if you're a single lady or if you are a married lady. It's a really nice way of telling people, your status. Let me share with you this amazing story as well from that same region. If you see this dress here, it's of a Bedouin lady that has been married, but right now is a widow. How do we know she's married? Because she was married, because she has this face cover with a lot of beautiful jewelry on it. She probably got it on the night of her wedding. But because she lost her husband, her dress is blue on the bottom. So widows and unmarried girls would wear dresses with blue embroidery on the bottom. But look at the right side of the screen. And for me, this is just fascinating. Do you see those little dots of red? This is a sign that the woman, she would remove some blue embroidery, add some red as a signal that she's ready to be remarried.
Okay.
Imagine, it's like a nonverbal communication
Uh-huh.
that the color red in her blue dress is a symbol that she's, hey, I'm ready to be approached again, and I'm looking maybe to
Wedding
be
dresses in
be.
Palestine are with red embroidery, right?
Oh yeah, very celebratory. Very.
Yes.
That's why the widow wears blue. I'm going to show you
Uh-huh.
later on the colors of the bride. But I just
Uh-huh.
wanted to tell you that even the color has symbolism. Certain regions preferred certain colors, as we talked about Hebron and Ramallah. So these colors don't only tell you which region you come from, because
Mhm.
Hebron favored the brownish red versus Ramallah, the burgundy red, but it also tell you of your marital status. In this example, if you're married, if you're single, or if you are a widow. So the colors are extremely important. And also, not only the colors of the embroidery, but the motifs on the dresses. So the dresses are designs with different beautiful motifs. Most of them have a meaning. And I want to highlight something important, that these motifs usually reflect the nature that these women lived on. So it's nothing that they copied from a book somewhere that came from Europe or from Asia. No, these are locally inspired motifs. That's why I called it organic. Embroidery is very organic. These women lived in nature. They had certain beliefs, and they embroidered their beliefs and their nature on their dresses. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples about these motifs, tell you their names, and tell you what stories they tell, what hopes and dreams some of these women actually have. So this is the veil of Ramallah. Ramallah had a beautiful veil that is put on the head. And I wanted to share only this veil and talk a little bit about its motifs. Yes, as an example. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. If you can see my cursor, which you told me you can, which is wonderful. If you guys see this letter S, if you see it on the left-hand side, this letter S is called the head of the horse or the leech. And it's present, and the meaning from it is power. So every time you see it, the woman is trying to present this power image. So I'm going to move to the next motif, and the motif of the feather. If you follow my cursor, this is
Mhm.
the feather, and this is the comb. These motifs are meant to protect the wearer, and they also come at the end of the embroidery. So they signify the end of the embroidered piece, and they start either of a new panel.
Oh, okay.
The tall palm motif that you see down here where my cursor is a very
Mhm.
beautiful motif. It's very unique. Also, Ramallah people loved it. And it's a motif that represents the continuity of life. The cypress motif, which we don't see here, we'll see on the next slides, meaning also the start of a new life. I want to show you the phoenix. The phoenix bird is very
Mhm.
important, and we see it in the Ramallah scarf, but also in the Bethlehem dress that I'm going to show you in a moment. So it's really amazing that all of these, oh, and the 8-pointed star that you see here,
Mhm.
and you see stylized here. This is a very, very important Palestinian motif that's repeated, and they call it the 8-pointed Canaanite stars. So
Mhm.
if you notice, each motif has a meaning and has a name and has a thing that makes the wearer, the person that wears it, feels better about it. So
Mhm.
all these motifs have significance. If
And
I'm
the
gonna
same is the meaning of the motive the same throughout time, or
uh,
you've heard that it might have changed?
generally speaking, the meaning remains similar. It might
Mhm.
shift. And plus, some of these motifs in different regions sometimes are given a different name. So we have to be very careful. This is a very
Okay.
detailed study,
Mhm.
but this is kind of the general meaning behind some of those
Mhm.
motifs. And I'm sure some specific regions have their specific meanings to those motifs. Regions within Palestine, I mean.
Mhm.
I also wanted to show you, for me, this is a very important dress. This is the back panel of the Jaffa
Mhm.
dress. And it's extremely unique because without a word, you can tell exactly where the woman is from. So if this woman is wearing this dress and walking down the market, you can tell right away that she is from Jaffa. And that if you ask me how, I'll share that with you. If you notice, these designs are called the orange blossoms. Jaffa is
Mhm.
very well known for its
Yes.
oranges. So these are the orange blossoms, and the fields of Jaffa were lined by cypress trees. So cypress
Okay.
trees lining the groves of oranges in Jaffa is what is depicted on the woman of Jaffa dress. So she embroidered her city basically on her dress. So you see a representations of the orange groves with the orange blossoms and the borders of these gardens that's usually bordered with cypress trees. So these are a reflection of her, the nature around her. The blossoms are there, the cypress are there, the fields are there. So she is representing what she's seeing, but also this represents where she's from. So this dress just tells you the whole story about this woman that is wearing this dress. So beautiful ways of telling you who this woman is actually and where she comes from. Other motifs not only tells you about the identity of the wearer, where she comes from, but also certain beliefs are reflected in the embroidery. This is fascinating to me. These are from the Gaza region, Gaza and Asdod, coastal region. And these dresses, if you notice, do you see those triangles here? And the triangles here, these triangles represents amulets. Amulets were very widespread in Palestine, used by Christians and Muslims. They have usually in them like sayings from the Quran or from the Bible to try to protect the wearers. So these women actually embroidered the symbol of an amulet, which are these triangles, as a way to protect themselves from the evil eye. So they would embroider their motif and these amulets that they carried with them around for protection, and they embroidered them on their dresses.
Even on the seaside of Palestine, they had differences because
Of
the
course.
Jaffa dress was completely different to the one from Gaza.
And thank you for asking that. And I am going to show you, after we talk about these beautiful motifs, we're going to show how different some of those dresses are and how unique these regional dresses are. So that's something that we're going to definitely talk about. But I want to continue with the uniqueness of Palestinian embroidery and the meaning of those embroidered motifs. I love this because this also reflects the hopes and the desires of women. This is the back of a dress of a married woman with children on it because she's hoping to have children. This one is a beautiful story. So a woman, when she gets married, embroiders a handkerchief for her husband. And this is the handkerchief that this woman has embroidered, and it shows how many children she wants to have. The poor husband. So she represents him with this handkerchief that she's embroidered. Hopefully, that with handkerchief, he'll have it with him always. But it also tells him her desire of having children with him and having a lot of children actually with him. So these embroidery also represents the desires and the hopes of the Palestinian women. And also their beliefs are certain things. Remember, I told you about the protection from the evil eye of the amulets? There's also something the unique that some Palestinian women did, which is this. They were perfect at embroidery. They were amazing. But they sometimes made intentional mistakes. these mistakes were in the hopes of averting the evil eye. So any woman that wants to hit you with the evil eye will focus on the mistakes and say, oh, it's beautiful, but look at the mistake she did and the mistake that she did here. Look at this side here and this side here. They look different. But that was intentionally made to avert the evil eye. So the wearer of the dress and the dress is actually protected.
And in this case, it's down there in the right. So the person doesn't have to stare at the eyes of the person that is wearing the dress.
Absolutely. And these are from the back. So definitely. So they don't have to
And the back.
stare and the back. So they don't have to actually look at their faces.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. So I want to end this part with the uniqueness of the embroidery, that the embroidery always told a story of Palestinian life. Yes, we talked about identity and we talked about hopes and dreams and wishes and beliefs. This is an example of the latest identity embroidered on dresses. After the first uprising or the Intifada, a lot of women embroidered their Palestinian identity on their dresses. So they embroidered the flag, they embroidered the Dome of the Rock, they embroidered the kufiya, they embroidered a lot on their dresses as a symbol of their Palestinian identity. So I think this is one of the main things I really wanted to highlight about Palestinian dresses. They really tell a story of Palestinian women, past and present. And these stories are from their nature, from what surrounded them, from their hopes and their dreams and their beliefs. And that's what makes Palestinian embroidery beautifully unique. And that's what we're trying to preserve and promote around the world.
Yes, and it's so unique that in fact, other people using these dresses, trying to appropriate them, it's not a good favor for them because they are definitely showing Palestine.
Yes, and they're appropriating them without the meaning, so
Right.
they're hollow, it's the
Yes.
stories that make up the meaning of something,
Uh-huh.
not the thing
Yes.
itself. And
That's
that's
why
what
it's so important to let the world know the meaning of the dresses,
yes.
because that's the way that it will be preserved, and that is the way that anyone wearing that dress, you would definitely know the meaning of the dress, what it's saying, and it would be very difficult to appropriate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think what else is important in Palestine is there's not one dress. Yes, every region in historic Palestine has its own dress, its own style. You mentioned early on the Jericho dress, which we're going to see an image of. So within Palestine, there's regional variation. And these regional variations also the preference of the people that lived in these regions. So not only that the motifs and the colors vary with their meaning, but also that the dresses vary regionally. And I think we should celebrate that regional diversity. And when we try to preserve Palestinian dresses, I know it's hard to wear Palestinian dresses right now. They're heavy and they're expensive and they don't exist, but we should never forget the story of these dresses and the regional variation that come in these dresses. And this is what, and I want to talk a little bit about my mom because she's amazing. She tried very hard to preserve Palestinian dresses. My mom's name is Mahasaka. She lives in Bethlehem. And she has a center called the Palestinian Heritage Center, and I help her with it, and I helped start it with it. So I'm very proud of what she does. But I can talk about it later on also, but I just wanted to show you this. The center tries to preserve the Palestinian heritage, especially the art of embroidery and the dresses of Palestine. And that's the main focus on the center. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. And the center in 2003 created this amazing map of Palestine, of historic Palestine, that shows the regional variation of these dresses. So this map that was created in 2003 shows historic Palestine and the regional variation in the dresses in all of the cities. And it connected the dress to something important in that region. For example, Bethlehem with the Nativity Church, and Jericho with the Hisham's palace symbol, and Gaza with its dress and the port connected to one another. So this map really shows the variation in dresses. All right, so if you would like me to, I can show you some of these dresses and the variation and the beauty of each region and in Palestine. Is that something that you'd like?
Yes, sure. Great. So we can
Excellent.
see each region with their dresses. It would be great to translate that poster. I've seen it, and it would be very good to have it in Spanish.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing that up. I think it's not only important to translate it, but I want to share with you that the Palestinian Heritage Center is ready to donate the rights of this poster to anyone who is working in Palestinian heritage, to kind of use it as a way to promote Palestinian heritage. Interested in this, that want to translate it, that want to showcase it, we are willing to provide you with a CD of high quality resolution, so you can actually use this poster anytime that you like.
Okay, great.
All right. So I don't know if we can go through all the regions, but I'm going to highlight some of the regions for you. We talk a lot about Bethlehem dress because it's so beautiful and so unique. If you notice on the top, these are the metallic threads, the threads that are coated with gold and silver, that the Bethlehem's dress and and silk threads all over the dress of Bethlehem. And the one that you see on your right is the wedding dress or the bridal dress of Bethlehem. I will show you a close-up of that dress in a minute, but I want you to know that even Bethlehem had a variation of dresses. They didn't only have one style, they have multiple styles. So I put the names up there for you. The one on the right is called Hell in Heaven because of the green stripes. The one in the middle that my mother is wearing is calling the Melastobe, and the one I'm wearing here is the daily dress. So the wedding dress, you don't wear it every day. You need to work and you need to do laundry and you need to, work in the house. So you would wear a daily dress. But for the wedding, this is the dress that you would wear. So I hope you see how elaborate it is. It has a short jacket that is on top of the dress. The sleeves are short to showcase the beautiful embroidery on the sleeves. The chest panel is very intensely embroidered, and I wanted to show you the chest panel top part of it because it has the phoenix bird. The phoenix bird is always there on Palestinian dresses, and I love the symbolism of it. It's coming out of the ashes, revival. So this is the beautiful Bethlehem dress. I'll talk about the headdress a little bit later. This is the Jerusalem dress. We've been talking about Jerusalem for a while. I just wanted to show you the variation also of the Jerusalem. And if you notice, the chest piece is embroidered by the women of Bethlehem. That's why it resembles the dress of Bethlehem. So the Jerusalem women kind of took the chest piece of Bethlehem and dresses, and the fabric of their dresses is very different. A lot of it is imported from Syria. The one on the right on the bottom is called Heaven and Hell as well. And the one on top is called Rabbani. And many women of Jerusalem wore the specific headdress that the brides of Bethlehem wear, which is the shatwa, which is the headdress that you see in Bethlehem region. And Jerusalem women kind of took that headdress because it's absolutely beautiful. It's really, really nice and beautiful. This is the dress of Jericho. And it's very symbolic. This is the same dress that we saw painted in Egypt of the Canaanite kings and queens going to visit Egypt. It's those red long stripes embroidered with the cross stitch. And the dress is extremely long. Some of them are not embroidered. Most of them are embroidered. And a unique fact about them, they are extremely long. So the dresses are double the length of the women. So women have to tuck it in to actually hide the length of the dress. And that's for various cultural reasons that the cultural reasons are mainly a status. You can get a lot of fabric. That means you're wealthy, or for protection from the heat of Jericho, or also enough cloth to carry things with. That's why the sleeves were extremely long. So there's always cultural reasons why things look the way they do. So always remember, there's a story behind each and every dress in Palestine. This is the Ramallah dress, absolutely beautiful. This is the burgundy red embroidery that I told you about that they love. The V on the neck, on the chest panel, is very unique for Ramallah. They love this V on the dress panel, and they usually like the white color, the light color linen, but they also did some dresses for winter in the dark color linen as well. So not only are the dresses unique, but also the headdresses. And only married women would wear these elaborate headdresses. And you guys could figure out why. This is part of the money that they get when they get married from the husband and his family. So they flaunt it. They put it on top of their headdresses. It's a sign of wealth that they carry with them. So these women, once they get married, they totally wear these headdresses. A small embroidered hat. And when you're married, you wear this kind of hat. And the money that you see on it is money because this was worn in many different periods. The ones that we mostly have is Ottoman coins, or before that, the Maria Theresa coin, which was a queen in Austria. And they traded a lot in the Middle East. And those coins are everywhere on Palestinian dresses and Palestinian hats. And the znak is a piece of jewelry that is attached to the headdress. It's not a necklace. It's attached to the headdress and is worn with the headdress. The one on your left is the Bethlehem headdress. The one on your right is the Ramallah headdress for married women. So there's also variation, not in the dresses, but also the headdresses. This is a very interesting fact. The women from the north did not embroider as much. They didn't have time to embroider, so they wore beautiful fabrics, but they didn't embroider because they were working in the field most of the time. So said that forget about embroidery. We're going to wear something beautiful in terms of fabric, but there's no time to actually embroider. So that's a very interesting story of the dresses of the northern region. Gaza is absolutely beautiful. Gaza had a textile factory. Gaza and Ashdod were the hub of textile work. This is the southern coast. So I'm going to show you the northern coast in a minute, but this is the southern coast. They favored the color in navy blue or indigo blue for their dresses. And if you notice and remember, they love the color purple more than red. So if you notice, not only is it on their embroidery, but the fabric itself really celebrated this purplish red color for the embroidery. And something very unique about this southern coastal area, they did have the square chest panel that's present everywhere in historic Palestine, but they also had their own unique chest panel, which is, as you see on the bottom left, the triangular chest panel. That is very unique of the Gaza or southern coastal region. None of the other region favored that. They usually have the square chest panel. So another regional variation that's very unique of Gaza and Ashdod region. This is the northern dresses. This is the dresses of Jaffa and Beit Dajan on the coast. Beautiful lady. You see the water behind them here on the left image. Beautiful water behind them, northern coastal region in Palestine. And the dress here that is absolutely gorgeous and very unique. It wasn't done very much, which is this jacket. If you notice, it's open from the front. Let me put the cursor here. It's open from the front. The woman wears the pants underneath it, but that's a very, very unique thobe that the northern women have worn in that region. So if you guys just look at all these images, you can see the amazing regional diversity in those dresses. Look at Hebron. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Hell in heaven, cielo e inferno, for the color of red and green. Very elaborate shawl that these women would wear, but also very elaborate headdresses. These are the headdresses laying flat on the table, but they are just full of coins, as you guys can see. Remember, these are worn by married women. So they're full of coin. It's a significance. It's a significant identifier of status. So if you have a full of coin, and especially if some coins are gold, that is example of a higher status of the husband that you've married into. So elaborate. And remember, a lot of this is nonverbal communications, like the status and the color and the identity. It's all written on your Palestinian thobe. So to truly understand the thobe is to understand the meaning behind all of that. Just because we talked a lot about the widows from the southern Bedouins, I also have to show you the wedding dresses. Yes. So look, this is the one on the left is the widow, and the one in the middle. Look how amazing the colors are. And I do want you to know that the southern regions favored geometric designs. So there's a lot of geometry in the dresses of the Naqab region and the dresses from that desert area. And the headdress, that's actually me wearing it. The facial cover is also full of coin. And it's not only about modesty, but it's about the wind in the desert and trying to protect the face from the sun and the wind in the desert. So that's an important meaning that sometimes people forget about this facial cover of that dress. And I'm not going to go into it today, but we should never forget about the men's dresses. So the men had
I
their
was
own.
going to ask you that. and
Thank
and if it's embroidered and the meaning of it.
Sorry to disappoint. Men's costumes are very, sorry, I don't want to call it generic, but they were very similar in all of the regions in Palestine. They were very, very similar. And maybe if there's embroidery, it's with those golden threads on the front part, but there's not a lot of embroidery or no embroidery, as we just explained, for the women's dresses. The hats differ, the headdress sometimes differ, as you see in this image, but it's really not a lot of variation in the men's clothing in different parts of Palestine. So I hope just from this quick review of the dresses that you see how diverse it is and how amazing those dresses are.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So today we have an effort of keeping embroidery, because what amazes me is that they don't do any pre-work or pre-pattern, and they start doing that as people normally do. They just start, and I don't
Absolutely.
know how they calculate or like how many stitches here, how many there.
You know what amazes me more than the stitching? I think maybe they get used to it, is the ability to mix the colors together. Colors that you could never think go well together. They can envision it and see it and put it together so beautifully. Colors that you would say, oh, no, you can't put that together, ends up producing some amazing image. So you're right. I mean, the stitching, none of them had pattern before. None of them followed any. They were just taught by their grandmothers at a young age. This is what you do. This is how you stitch. And they continued doing it. So the patterns came so much later. The designs came so much later, but all these early dresses just developed organically from living in nature and learning from the older generation. You're absolutely right.
It's incredible how they do it, and they just start, and it's like they have it in their heads,
Mhm.
and
They
they
absolutely
just
do.
it flows. It's
Yes,
incredible. Hmm.
yes, yes.
It's beautiful. And I went to your mom's heritage center.
Mhm.
It's wonderful. It has so many things, and I guess many of the things that she has there in presented, and maybe you have gathered them and worked on that. So, Iman, um, how can we preserve heritage, or how is heritage preserved? Heritage is Tura.
Mhm. Yes, heritage is Turat, and I
Uh-huh.
believe every culture and people should preserve their heritage. I'll give you a small example of what we've been doing, and hopefully this will inspire some things for other people to do. At the Palestinian Heritages in Bethlehem, we have been doing a lot of lectures, a lot of exhibits and exhibitions, like the poster that you saw, a lot of publications and posters, a lot of talks about Palestinian heritage. We need to keep it alive in the memory of people. I can maybe show you this image. When I got married, I wore, instead of a white dress, I wore a dress that's embroidered with Palestinian embroidery. So the one thing that I can ask people to do in the diaspora especially is to keep the stories of the Turath alive, is to obtain embroidery from Palestine, and is to keep some of the stories alive about this embroidery, and to wear it in your special occasions, in your wedding, in your festivals, just to kind of keep it alive and teach it to the young generation. There's a lot of people trying to put on museums and exhibits, but I think every single individual in his or her own unique way can help the preservation and the spread and the revival of Palestinian heritage. So we shouldn't wait for governments or museums or even our center in Bethlehem to do the job. It's the responsibility of every single person in his or her own way to kind of preserve it. It's something that is entrusted to us from previous generations, and we should honor this trust and try to make sure that it stays with us, not in this generation also, but in future generation. So we have to practice it to keep it alive. So that's my last message: is practice to wrath. Keep it in your practice in order to make it alive. Keep it alive.
Is there a book or something that
Yes.
you would recommend, um, and also maybe a sort of a dictionary of the symbols?
Yes, there are definitely books, and I can share the names of them with you. You can share it with your audience, but I wrote a small book. With the help of my mother, we did an exhibit here in Chicago that was for 8 months, was out. It was beautiful, and it's in PDF format. So I'll be happy to share that with you, and you can also share that with your audience. And I have few names of books that you can share with Palestinians and with Chileans that are interested in looking at the dresses and learning about the motifs as well.
That
I'll be
that
happy to do that.
Mhm. That would be great. And a lot of people would love that, especially now because embroidery has been with the pandemic. A lot of
Yes.
people started doing embroidery, and many times I would tell my friends, "Well, this is typical from Palestine, and this design means this or that," and people got it in so interested in it, and
Yes.
they said, "Well, I would love to know where it comes from, the meaning of the designs, and it's great. It's a great opportunity."
Oh, absolutely. And I think, like I said, you just have to practice it. Talk about it and practice it if you can. And that's the only way to understand what it means, and also to keep it alive for the future. And the poster that I mentioned, the map, and the poster behind you. If there is an organization in Palestine, in Chile, that's interested in that, I would love to communicate with them, and we're happy at the center to share those posters, and they can do whatever they want with them to spread Palestinian heritage.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. And this will only be one part, because we have to talk about archaeology and many
Yes.
of the things that you're doing. So we will have an additional meeting for later. And of course, people will love that.
I will be happy to come again, and I will happy to share my archaeological
Yes.
experience with the audience from Chile. Absolutely.
We would like to see the pictures and you there in the rocks and working on site.
I would love to do that. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you
Thank you.
so much for showing us your wealth, the knowledge, the culture, and the work that you do, that your family does, that your mother does in preserving heritage, which is
And we're
unique.
Thank you so much. And it's not an easy job, especially in Palestine, but she's strong, and I'm helping her as much as I can from here as well.
Great, great.
Thank
Blessings.
you.
Thank you
Muchas
so much.
gracias.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.